It is totally okay to be unhappy.
Especially when you're a working mom.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
How natural and normal it is in today's society for working moms to be unhappy. And we're talking about some of the reasons why working moms are so dissatisfied, discontented, just feel like maybe like, is this what it's all about? You know, it's that feeling of like, oh, so this is it? This is what we're doing?
It is so draining to be a career woman, to be managing a household, to be present for your kids. And what happened to this, it takes a village to raise a kid? Like, where is the village?
Where is the village?
Where is your village?
Do you know where your village is?
It's something so important to note that it really does take a village. And the support system that you have is so important in empowering you to have an identity where you feel that you're supported by your spouse, by your family members to follow those ambitions that you have as a career, to not feel guilty to work while you're a mom, to not feel guilty to not work as hard because you want to be there and be present for your kids, that you will decline a meeting at the end of a Friday because, you know, it's your daughter's volleyball game.
You're speaking from personal experience, aren't you?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. You know, I think, Jenna, you and I have so much in common, even more so after having our girls.
Yeah. Yeah. Becoming a working mom, I think for both of us, like, yeah, it's banded us together a little bit because we understand each other's struggle. And I think it's not something that a lot of working moms talk about because it's almost seen as like, I don't know, like, oh, you should just be so happy because you know, your kids are healthy and you're bringing in money and like, you should just be happy. But there's so much going on, I think, on our mental plates. Like that is the hardest part for me, is all of the things that I'm balancing every single day to be a working mom. Like all of the things that I'm thinking about for the household, for my kid, for my career, that I've worked really hard to get this career. And now it's like, I'm putting so much energy into maintaining it that then something's got to fall off, but it can't be my kid, right? So then nothing can fall off there. So usually what falls off is me, right? Because I'm putting all the energy into work and all the energy into the kids. And then what's left?
One thing I find I struggle with the most is the relationship that I have with my spouse.
Yes.
I mean, do I want something? I'm so happy, I'm so grateful to have the help that I do. But are things always done right or how I'd like them to be done? Am I putting too much pressure on myself to have this done perfectly?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's talk about husbands. So Naajiaa and I always talk about like our lives, which I think is really, really helpful. And it's one of the things that like brings me joy, is being able to talk about the struggles with someone else who understands. Like I think it brings a lot of validation and makes you feel like you're not so alone, which by the way is one of the reasons that we're doing this, because we want everyone, all the other working moms out there, to know that you are not alone and we feel you and we want to be there with you and support you. We are you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, relationship with your spouse. Like, so I'm a couples counselor and Naajiaa is becoming a life coach. And so we think a lot about relationships in general, because relationships really are the foundation of everything, right?
Absolutely.
When your relationship is not going well, it is so hard to just be happy and just make it through the day, I find.
The complexities of the relationships that we have in our lives definitely are going to be a help or a hindrance.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when your relationship isn't going well, it's so natural and normal to just feel like you're failing at everything, I find. Maybe that's just me, but I find when my relationship's not going well, I just feel down. I just feel like I can't be the best mom possible. I can't be obviously the best wife possible. And I can't be the best me possible. So that's like one area that I want to put a lot of effort into, but I don't have time. Like I don't have time to put effort into it. He's like, you know, I know he's always going to be there. So he's kind of the last on the list other than me. It goes him and me, right?
Why do women always put themselves last. When the airplane theory is that you need to put oxygen on yourself first before you help anybody else.
But honestly, I find it's like almost like a badge of honor. Like we almost think of it like, yeah, you know, I don't have time for myself today, but that's not okay. I think because it's acceptable for the mom to be the martyr, and not only acceptable, it's expected for the mom to be the martyr, for the mom to be the one who sacrifices everything. I see it with my mom too. Like when I go to my mom's house, I don't think twice about the fact that she's in the kitchen, cooking, doing the dishes, cleaning up after us, because she's my mom. When I became a mom and when I'm in the kitchen doing the dishes, cooking, cleaning up after people, I'm like, what, how did I end up here? Like, why am I taking over all of this stuff? But it's so accepted and expected in our society that that's what moms do. Let's talk about the mental and emotional load that working moms carry, because I have a feeling our plates are probably more full than anyone else I can think of in society. I'm just going to say it, right? Like that's, yeah.
I read something somewhere that a full-time mom is the equivalent of 2.5 full-time jobs.
Yeah, I read that too. I think you start at like 6:30 in the morning and you end at like 8:30 or 9 at night. I know some moms that stay up till 2, 3 in the morning just to get some time to themselves, and then they're exhausted and depleted the next day. And they, guess what, have to wake up when their kids wake up and go through the whole thing all over again.
So how do we gain our power back and give ourselves that time and that self-care?
Well, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? Like, how do we give ourselves back time? Because our plates are so full that I think the fear is, and it might be a true fear, that if we let things go or just don't do some of the things that are on our plate, well, nobody else is going to care enough to do them, right? Like if you don't sign, okay, as an example, if I don't sign my kid up for extracurricular activities, is my husband going to take a look at her schedule and say, you know, she could probably use some more activity. Let me go like look online and see what the community centers are offering, and then like create a login and put my payment information in there. No, he's just not going to do that. He's not going to, he's great. He does a lot, but he's not going to do that. Right?
That's not something my husband would do.
Right?
That's the role I play when it comes to Ava's activities.
Totally. They'll take them to the activity.
Oh, yeah.
They will feed them if you remind them on the way to the activity, but they're not looking for the activity.
We're the organizer. We're the scheduler. We're their time managers.
Totally.
But who manages our time?
Well, that was so good. So in my practice, I've had actual conversations with couples where the husband is like, I don't know how, like for some reason, I just forget to do household chores. And I'm like, how do you remember to do other things in your life that you need to do? Like, I don't know, get the oil changed or like go to a doctor's appointment. And he's like, well, I put it in my phone. And I'm like, there's an idea. Could you maybe schedule some housework into your phone and see how that works? And he was like, I could try that. Like, I'm not trying to make fun of him because like it was an honest, but this is the honest thought process of like, you know, I'll remember the things that I need to remember that I know my wife's not going to remember, but the things that she's going to remind me of and that she's shown me she'll remind me of, those things I don't actually have to think too much about. If she's there dictating to me what needs to be done around the house, then I will just let her continue to dictate that. I'm not going to take it upon myself to look around the house and see what needs to be done because she does it anyway for me. That's so true.
It is. And why are we enabling? Why are we creating this behavior? Why are we sacrificing our time and our energy to remind them? There needs to be accountability in a relationship. There needs to be a holding of them capable.
Yes, that is so true. That is so true. What would it look like? Like, that's a great exercise to think about. Like, what would it look like to hold your partner capable and just say, yeah, they can do it. They can figure it out. And maybe like give them some warning, like be like, by the way, I'm not going to be scheduling XYZ anymore. So just letting you know. And then whatever happens next happens. So let's talk a little bit more about what is the mental and emotional load. Like what is on a working mom's plate? So it's everything to do with her career, right? Meaning all of the day-to-day. Like, I've noticed about women that we do not just go do a job. We put our entire hearts and souls into whatever we're doing.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter what it is. We want to make sure that it is done well because it's a reflection of us. And most of us hold ourselves to an incredibly high standard. So it's not just thinking about your career. It's thinking, how can I be like the best, whatever it is today?
Yes.
Even when I'm running on no sleep, even when I've had a terrible morning with my kid or whatever, even when I'm feeling super disconnected from my husband, how can I just set that aside and put my all into this moment? So there's everything to do with career. And what about kids?
I feel like so much mom guilt comes over me when I can't be there for my daughter's volleyball games, her track meets, and it eats away because I know that sometimes my husband can make things that I can't, and I don't mean to, but I kind of resent him a little bit for it because he gets to be in those moments where I don't.
Totally. Totally. Mom guilt is so huge. Oh my gosh.
And it's so draining because when you have this purpose at work and you have this purpose as a mom and you have this purpose of, keeping the house together and being a good partner, it's so draining because you're putting yourself at a high standard. And I feel like as women, we're our own biggest critics.
Yes.
And it can be so hard when you receive external criticism. I feel like there are so many women in my life that are judgmental and project their own unhappiness. And I'm starting to learn more about boundaries and how to have clear boundaries in my relationships so that I can get more peace and calm in order to get to that happy place.
And when it's not coming directly from people in your lives, it's all over Instagram. Every time I open Instagram, I'm like, ways to be a better mom. Like, basically ways that you're failing. Like, oh, did you yell at your kids today? Oh, like homeschool stuff too. Like, oh, here's 50 activities you should be doing with your homeschool kids. And I'm like, I did like half of an activity. Like, that's how much I did today.
And that's amazing. And we're going to celebrate that. And this is why we're building this community, because it is okay to not be okay.
It is. One of the biggest things that I've noticed in my clients is that they worry that their being an imperfect parent is going to like traumatize their children. And I really think that it's okay to be imperfect in front of our kids as long as they see that we are picking ourselves back up, we're doing the best that we can, and we're loving them fiercely even on our imperfect days.
Having a safe space and creating the sanctuary, our hope is to
bring women like us together, right?
I think what's so important is being vulnerable and really allowing yourself to be in your truth and in your thoughts. And the only way that I can do that is if I feel that there is a trust and an understanding. When I'm with my girlfriends and I feel seen and heard, it's the most meaningful connection that I've created in being the best mom possible.
Yeah, that's so true. And I don't know about you, but I know that there's some other mom friends that I don't feel I can be myself from. Like, I can't bitch about my husband to them or like talk about how hard parenting is because there's like this mask. And I think what we're trying to do here is just like take off the mask and just say it's okay. Like, it's really okay to be going through whatever you're going through. And maybe like we're going to throw some tools in there and some, skills to help you, like from our personal training and from our experience. But I think the most important thing is just the validation piece and the normalizing that like moms are struggling. Moms are really struggling. I see it constantly in my practice to the point where it haunts me. It is a huge problem. There are women suffering alone. That shouldn't be happening.
It should not be happening. And through our experience, I think that what we have to share is valuable. If it resonates with you, if there's any specific topic that you'd like for us to explore, please let us know. We're open And we look forward to growing our community and just really sharing that you are not alone. We're in this together.
Yeah. So today has been kind of just a normalizing session, but one of the things that I wanted to bring in just from like a therapy perspective or a therapist perspective is around core needs. If you're noticing that you're really not feeling happy in your life as a working mom, I want you to think about what are some of the core needs that you have that aren't being met. Core needs are things that we need in order to be able to function at our best. Meaning without these core needs being met, we're not able to function at our best. So these could be things like self-care. It could be things like connecting with your partner, connecting with your child, connecting with your friends. It could be sleep, could be nutrition, right? It could just be going outside for a few minutes every day. For every person, it's going to be different. But what are some of the things that you notice that when you do these specific things, you tend to have a better day? You tend to feel a little bit more energized. You tend to be able to connect a little bit better with your kid, with your spouse, with yourself, right? And then if you can, write a list of what these basic core needs are, and then another list for the minimum requirement that will keep you happy. So for me, for example, it might be spending time with friends. And maybe my minimum is one night a month, you know? And when you put it in those terms, you realize, well, it's not actually that much. Maybe it's exercise. For me, you know, if I don't get exercise, I become like a rage monster, basically. So, but the minimum is only 20 minutes a day, right? Not that much when you really break it down. So that's an exercise that you can engage in to just start to think about, okay, maybe if I get these foundational needs met, then I'll have more capacity for the stuff that really lights me up.
I love that.
Yeah. And Naajiaa has a brilliant idea, which is to end on a reflection. What's today's reflection?
So, Jenna, today I'd like for us to reflect on one thing that sparks us joy.
Yeah, I love it. Well, this was so much fun.
So much fun.
I love talking about our struggles. I don't know why. What's up with that?
It feels so good to just
So good.
have someone understand.
Yeah. Yeah, you just like offload it.
It's so important for women to have individuals that energize them and lift them up. And I'm starting to realize the ones that don't do that, that drain my energy, that don't deserve my energy anymore.
I love that. Yeah. Another thing to think about. Okay, well, we will see you next time.
See you next time.